a river attended my way when sorrows like sea billows roll. Whatever, my Lord, thou hast taught me to say, it is well with my soul. It is well with my soul. It is well. It is well. So my soul. And Lord, haste the day when my faith shall be sight. The clouds be rolled back as a scroll. The trump shall resound, and the Lord shall descend. Even so, it is well with my soul. It is well with my soul. Oh, it is well with my soul. It is well with my soul.
Hello, and welcome to the third episode of our series. I'm so excited, the story of unfulfilled dreams. And today we're going to be looking at yet another different topic. I'm sure you've seen on the flyer, it's going to be on the professional Christian. And I'm sure you're probably wondering, what is this really about? Where can be dreams associated, where can be unfulfilled dreams associated with the profession, with anyone's profession? Like a professional Christian wants the link. So before we start, as always, we do have a passage that we're going to be using that is going to be leading us today. We're going to be making use of Genesis chapter 39 from verse 1 and part. I'm just going to read bits and pieces of it from verse 1 up to 10. I'm not going to read all of it. So verse 1 says, and Joseph was brought down to Potiphar to Egypt, and Potiphar, an officer of Pharaoh, captain of the guard, an Egyptian, bought him of the hands of the Ishmaelites, which had brought him down hither. And the Lord was with Joseph, and he was prosperous man. He was in the house of his master, the Egyptian. And his master saw that the Lord was with him, and that the Lord made all that he did to prosper in his hand. And Joseph found grace in his sight, and he served him, and he made him overseer over his house. And all that he had, he put into his hand. And it came to pass, from the time that he had made him overseer in his house, and over all that he had, that the Lord blessed the Egyptian's house for Joseph's sake. And the blessing of the Lord was upon all that he had in the house in the field. And he left all that he had in Joseph's hand, and he knew not aught he had save the bread which he did eat. Verse 7, and it came to pass after these things that his master, his wife, cast her eyes upon Joseph, and he said, lie with me. Verse 8, but he refused and said to his master's wife, behold, my master, what if not what is with me in the house, and he hath committed all that he hath to my hand. There is none greater in this house than I, neither hath he kept back anything from me but thee, because thou art his wife. How then can I do this great wickedness and sin against God? And it came to pass, as he spake to Joseph day by day, that he hearkened not unto her, to lie by her, or to be with her. And it came to pass about that time that Joseph went to do his business. And I want us to jump into verse 13. Verse 14 says that she called unto the men of the house and spake unto them, saying, see, he hath brought him in, he had brought in a Hebrew unto us to mock us. He came in unto me to lie to me, and they cried with a loud voice. And you know the story at the end. Joseph finds himself Joseph finds himself in the prison. So what are we learning from the story? Number one, Joseph was a man who was a man of integrity. He was a righteous man, and he had principles in whatever he did. So in his profession, whatever he did, he was guided by God's word. So in the end, it was not about what people think, what Potiphar is going to think, or what his wife is going to think, but it was all about what God would think. So in the end, you find that we tend to think that life, when we do exactly what God expects us to do, we think things will go according as we plan, but it's not always the case, unfortunately. And sometimes standing for God may even cost us our life. It can even cost our career. So in the end, we find Joseph had at least tried to, he had been sold and he gets into this house, at least he's working there. And as he's working there, he then finds himself surrounded by all this temptation. And as if it's not enough, this lady keeps enticing him, but because he was a man of integrity, he was not moved. But ultimately, his integrity found him in the pits. How easy is it to accept that at times, because of standing for what we believe, we can actually find ourselves in a place we never dreamt of? We can find ourselves in the mud. So today, I do have a special guest in the house, our very own Elder Takunda Timbe. Welcome, Elder Timbe, to the show. Happy Sabbath.
Hi, Ashla. How are you? Happy Sabbath.
I'm good, thanks. How's been the Sabbath?
It's been a good day. It's been a good day. I'm
Been a good
actually a
day.
little bit sad that soon it's gonna be over.
I know, right? So thank you so
Yeah.
much for joining us. And Elder Timber decided today we're going to be talking about the professional Christian. So what came to your mind the first time I told you about a story of unfulfilled dreams?
Mm, okay. Well, thank you. Thank you for the opportunity, Ashla. And thanks for having actually given me a wide net to think of what I could discuss with you today. Um, and yeah, I think story of unfulfilled dreams is it's personal to me in that as some people may know, some may not know, I am a lawyer by profession, and I first wanted to become a lawyer when I was in Form 2. That's when I knew
Oh,
that's what I wanted to become in life. And life threw a couple of curveballs along my way, and it was a long journey for me to finally get my degree. And when I finished high school, I my A level points were actually not bad, but they were not the 15 points that were required at the UZ at that time. So I couldn't do law with the UZ. And then I searched for other universities because that's what I had purposed in my heart to do. I then settled for the University of South Africa, or what we call UNISA. Um, and I corresponded. I studied myself through law school to get my degree, but there were many
wow.
challenges along the way.
Along the
um
way.
yeah,
Oh,
lots
yeah.
and lots
So
of
it's
challenges.
quite personal. It's quite personal. I get you. So
Yeah.
before you tell us all about this, it's already getting excited, but we don't know who you are. So the first thing I want you to tell us is, who is Takunda Timbe?
Takunda Timbe is I'd say the husband of one wife, happily married. I have a daughter as well. um and I fellowship at Mount Pleasant Seventh Adventist Church. I like to call that my extended family. I have many friends and colleagues there. Uh, I come from a family of four. I'm the youngest, together with a twin brother. Um, we have an older sister who's in New York. We also had an older brother. He's late now. And yeah, I think in a nutshell, that's what I could say.
Okay, thank you so much for letting us know more about you. So, as we get to know you, as we get into your story, my next question is gonna be: how did you see your professional life as a young boy? You already
Mm.
told me by Form 2 you were sure your mind was set you're going to be a lawyer. How did you
Yes.
see your life? How did you envision your professional life was gonna be when you were a young boy?
Well,
Like, did you think it was just gonna be a walk in the park? What did you imagine yourself?
I did. I thought it was going to be a walk in the park. How I settled for that actually is there used to be a popular TV series called The Practice, and The Practice
Okay.
was a legal drama. And every school holiday, whenever it was showing, I used to watch it. And what really got me interested there was because there were these lawyers who used to give nice speeches and they wore nice suits. That's really what
You're
drew
like,
me
this is
in.
fancy.
Yeah, yes, because I liked this idea of being groomed and looking smart and all of that. So that drew me in. And also, I was in public speaking back in high school, so there was a connection there. And then I thought it was going to be just to walk in the park, finish high school, go to law school, and then go to work.
Boom.
And of course, you know, there are lawyers who do very well for themselves. And
Do
over
that.
time, I
Yeah.
discovered, of course, lawyers they have an opportunity to help people, and I like that aspect as well. I actually believe three of the best professions where you are a professional and you can help people is, first of all, I would say the medical profession, because a person's life is in your hands. And then
Definitely.
secondly, those times I debate, I think education. Um, Education is a very, very powerful tool for ministry and for the development of a person. My mother
Okay.
was a teacher for 40 years,
Mine too.
and
Oh, wow.
to this day, she still meets people who walk up to her and say, "Oh, Mrs. Timber, do you remember me? You taught me some 27 years ago. I'm now this and
And
this." And
impact.
there's a very strong impact. And I've had an opportunity to be an educator myself, and it's a very, very fulfilling thing to do. And then obviously the third would be the legal profession. People come to you with their problems, and you have an opportunity to solve their issues. And in solving their issues, you then have that opportunity to then point them to the master. So I think those two professions, I have a great deal of respect for them.
True. That's actually true. I actually never thought of it that way. And that is pretty awesome. So I want to find out what came first, the profession or Christianity?
It
What came
was
first?
Well, I had always had I didn't grow up in the Seventh Day Adventist church, but
Okay.
I think I'll say Christianity came first because the profession
Okay.
came many years later. So Christianity came
Okay.
first, but conversion into Adventism happened whilst I was studying in law school.
Okay. I get it. That makes sense. Because at times it impacts you whether you've always been a Christian or you then change later on, definitely the way you see life is different. But anyway, what's important is that you have both. You're a professional and you're also Christian. And we need more
Definitely.
Christian professionals. So the next thing that I want us to discuss is that, so how do you think Christianity has impacted you in your profession? Like, as it
Okay.
turned out to be what you expected to be. You confirmed my first question that you definitely thought it was gonna be a walk in the park. How has this
Mm.
impacted you personally?
Okay. Well,
Like the
it's
positives, the negatives. I don't know what you want to start with, but yeah,
well, I think I'll start with the positive so that it encourages someone first. But the
true.
positives
That makes sense.
definitely um, with my with my young life as a professional, I have had an opportunity where I solved people's problems, and through that, a relationship was created, and I was able to actually share the gospel with them to some degree. Um, because I'm not working in a law firm now. Um, I'm working for a company. But when I was with the law firm, I developed personal relationship with the clients that I had, such that I had an opportunity to go the extra mile over and above just working on their case and corresponding with them. I had the opportunity to actually check up on them to see if they had any problems. And because they have trusted you with their affair or their matter, you there's a degree of trust that they have, and you have easier access to them. And that allowed me to be able to then minister to them in different ways. There's a divorce matter that we handled. Uh, Divorces are messy, but through that interaction,
They never
you
end.
then manage to bring healing to the person, and you then manage to help them understand that life will go on, but there's also Christ involved. And there's several examples of that. Whether you win the case or you lose the case, you still manage to develop that relationship. And to this day, I still have clients that still call me and look for me and say, "Oh, where are you now?" Or "I wanted you to represent me," or I just wanted to say hi. How are you? How are you doing?
Oh,
And
that's pretty awesome.
it's yes, and you find that at times they may, yes, they'll remember the legal matter that you handled, but they also remember the personal touch,
How you
the
made
things
them
that
feel. Yeah.
outside of the job that they'd asked you to do for them. So
Yeah.
it's brought a positive and a positive impact. I'll say some negatives, of course, is when you're working with colleagues who may not appreciate or understand that. To them, you see, for lawyers, it's about selling time. Every minute uh, matters. You really appreciate the importance of time, because I could be spending 6 hours with just interviewing someone, but those 6 hours I could be doing something that's bringing money into the law firm. So time is of the essence, and time truly is money. Um, so at times, a colleague or a boss might not appreciate that, and they might just be thinking, "Do what you need to do, bring in the money, and move on to the next thing." Um, and at times, that can then cause, I'll say, a challenge, yeah, or maybe a failure to appreciate, or a failure to understand. So yeah, those, I think, I would say, would be some of the negatives that can come out of it, because you are at work and you are working, so you may then have to do some of these extra things outside of work, because Caesar demands his time as well.
Yeah, true. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. Thank you so much. So I get it. Christianity definitely has impact. Some people don't get it. Like, what's the fuss about this thing being a weirdo? Of course you're not like your colleagues, but somehow we have to make sure that in our interaction, in our position, and thank you, Auntie Winnie, we see a comment. It's amazing how we can all use our position in our profession to evangelize. And that's all. That's why Christ puts us in those different positions, because he knows there are people that someone may not be able to reach out. Like you're saying, I could be able to reach out to a patient in the hospital, but I may not be able to reach out to your clients. And God expects us to make use of each and every opportunity that He gives us.
Mhm.
Yeah. So now I want to find out how easy has been representing Christ in the workplace. How have you found it to be?
Okay,
And maybe
then,
in a not so godly environment, how easy has it been?
okay, I'd like to just share two verses, which I discovered in the Bible, and these have been an anchor for me. I discovered that Jesus does expect us to carry our Christianity in the workplace, and through us, God can. Do you know that God can save a company from going under? He can save jobs. He can
True.
increase revenue streams. He can increase clients just because he has his child in that company. God can
That's so
actually
true. Which is
protect
why,
and bring increase to a company just because you're there. And God
yeah,
elevates us. At times as Christians, we believe that, no, because I'm a Christian, I should not aspire to be the best or the biggest, or to rise as far as I can. But where, you know, at the highest tables of the land, the highest tables within these institutions, where is Christ going to be represented if we don't aspire to sit there as well? So there's two verses that I want to just share with the audience, which
mm,
I came across and they've helped me, and then I'll explain how. The first is Genesis chapter 30, verse 27. This is Jacob when he was working for Laban. You remember at some point, Laban actually cheated Jacob so that
yeah, he
Jacob would
did.
stay. And this is the reason why. Genesis chapter 30, verse 27, it says, "And Laban said unto him, I pray thee, I have found favor. If I have found favor in thine eyes, tarry, for I have learned by experience that the Lord has blessed me for thy sake." So Laban cheated Jacob because he found that my harvests, my flocks, and my business and my wealth has increased just because Jacob is here.
Because of
And
you.
Jacob
Yeah.
had to ask to Laban. Laban had to cheat him so that he stays, because God's blessing was upon Jacob. And then the second one is Genesis chapter 39. It's funny you read Genesis chapter 39. Those
It's
first
like I
verses.
knew your mind and I hadn't
Yeah,
told you.
I actually thought to myself, this must be providence. So Genesis chapter 39, verse 5, it says, and it came to pass, this is Joseph now. It came to pass that he had made him overseer in his house, that's Potiphar's house, and over all that he had, that the Lord blessed the Egyptian's house for Jacob's sake. And the blessing of the Lord was upon all that he had in the house and in the field. So I think the verse is self-explanatory there. In two instances, we're seeing that the Lord blessed the master's home because his child was in that home. And I believe the same principle applies to us today. And this is actually a prayer that I like to pray personally. And I just encourage the audience to pray it as well. I always just pray to the Lord in my heart, saying, Lord, help me to be an asset in the same way that Jacob and Joseph were assets. Help me to bring increase. Help me to add value. Help me to add to the balance sheet of this institution or within the department, or just help me to be such a valued asset to this company. And through that, may Christ be represented and may your name be glorified. And I found that in instances, it has worked. Um, I'll just share an example where when I was still working for the law firm, for example, we entered this drive where we wanted to increase our clients. So the managing partner and the other partners, they said, okay, guys, let's do what we can do to get clients. Um, so I said, all right, I'll play my part. And so I prayed this prayer using Jacob and Joseph as templates. And I just spoke to so many people. I used innovative ways to get clients to the law firm. And every month we would have a monthly meeting just to see where we are, just housekeeping issues. It was 6 months after that we are in a meeting and the managing partner just says, okay, we're wrapped up the meeting. And he says, there's one more thing I need to say. I want to just acknowledge Mr. Timbe. Mr. Timbe has worked so hard since we began this exercise. He has increased clients. He has brought in money into the law firm. He has worked tirelessly. And Mr. Timbe, I just want to
Wow.
acknowledge you publicly, just to say thank you for
Wow.
the hard work that you've done and we have recognized it. Now, in my heart, I knew that God had answered this prayer. It was not my doing, but I used Joseph and Jacob as templates and I prayed that prayer and it certainly worked. So, whatsoever we do, whether it's a small role or a big role, we represent Jesus. And Jesus understands business. He was a businessman, he was a carpenter, and he
Oh yeah.
understands
I never thought of
the
that.
need. Companies need to survive, companies need to thrive in this difficult economy. And we are the human capital to allow that to happen. So we have a very big role to play in within our economy and within the businesses that we represent.
Sure. Thank you so much. Yeah, he really expects us to be the best of the best because no one can really want to emulate something that is low, right? That is like
Yeah,
the last, that's why I guess the Bible says we are the head, not the tails. Yeah.
yeah.
So now, so how is this? What lessons have you gathered through your experiences? You told me how you thought it was going to be a walk in the path, but along the journey you couldn't. You had your own detours. You had your own detours, and it took longer. And like you also mentioned that you also found yourself teaching at some point and stuff like that. So, what are the key lessons that you learned in your journey? Did you get to some point where you start questioning yourself, am I really supposed to be a lawyer after all? Maybe I'm trying too hard. And what also kept you grounded? Like if you would share any texts or songs, whatever it is that kept you grounded in the Lord.
Okay. Okay. Well, thanks for that. Yeah. Yeah, there were those dark moments. I think when I was studying. Because of course, you're trying so hard, and with UNISA, you pay for the subjects that you're gonna do. it's not like the conventional university whereby you pay your school fees and this semester you're going to do so many subjects. With UNISA, if you're paying for one subject, you do one subject that semester. So there were times where there were difficulties and I could take a few subjects, and I did graduate longer than my peers. My peers were ahead of me by a couple of years, like the guys I learned with in high school. So obviously you start measuring yourself against them, saying, he's done that or he's now here, and I'm still trailing behind. But um, at some point when I was in my third year, I started working for an advocate Shuarara. He was also something of a mentor to me. So I was just sharing that difficulty, and he said to me, "Look, uh, never measure yourself with someone else, and everyone is walking their own line. So walk your own line. Everyone
True.
is
We have different paths.
having their own journey. You don't know what they've gone through." And that just changed my mindset, and I just I had peace in my heart now, because I said, yeah, this is my life, this is my story, this is my journey, and a testimony will come out from there. So let me continue pushing on until I achieve this dream. So yeah, that I think that experience helped as well, and I've shared that with other people who struggled as well, to say, hey, why are you comparing yourself with so and so? You don't know what issues they've had. You haven't walked a mile or a kilometer in their shoes. All we see is the external, but we don't know the internal. So walk your line, and you'll see good coming from that.
So true. And I think I've also gotten to those points where you feel, I'm also, you're measuring yourself up, comparing yourself to others. But I've also realized that, you know what, it is the same author who's writing our storylines, but the storylines are different. It'll be boring if it's one author who's writing the same book, same content. I'm sure no one would want to read those books. So yeah, that's actually a key lesson. So I was asking, what kept you grounded in all this? What kept you
Okay.
grounded as you maneuvered your journey?
Okay. I think professionally, what has kept me grounded is um, I like looking at, when you live out the Bible, or when you see a story from the Bible and then it applies to your life, or at least you try and apply it to the relevant section of your life. I think that has helped me be grounded. I have I would like to take Daniel, for example. Daniel worked for Nebuchadnezzar until Nebuchadnezzar died. And Nebuchadnezzar was a heathen king. He neither worshipped the Lord nor acknowledged the Lord. And Nebuchadnezzar himself, I believed himself to be a god. And there you have a young Daniel who comes before the king. And Daniel had his principles, which were laid out very clear. And I found that in a working environment, if your principles are known and your values are known, you then people may not like it, but they will definitely respect it.
Hmm.
And through that respect, it allows people to at least know that you worship the true God. They may not understand everything at that time, but they will respect your views and your beliefs. And actually, because of, if you then start to do your work well, you then develop a relationship with your superiors, with your immediate supervisor, your manager, the boss, the big boss, whosoever it is, and they can then um, be someone who's in your corner when other people may not. And I'd like to draw an example from Daniel chapter 4. You remember when Nebuchadnezzar had that dream of the
You're
huge
true.
tree, which
Yeah.
was, so he has
Yeah,
the
sure.
dream and then troubles him. Daniel is then called to interpret the dream. And this is what Daniel chapter 4, verse 19 says. It says, Then Daniel, whose name was Belshazzar, was astonished for 1 hour, and his thoughts troubled him. The king spoke and said, Belshazzar, let not the dream or the interpretation thereof trouble you. Belshazzar answered and said, My lord, the dream be to them that hate you, and the interpretation thereof to thine enemies. So you see, Daniel and Nebuchadnezzar, they had a close relationship, a close union. And even though Nebuchadnezzar was probably the worst man on earth, Daniel loved him.
Heaven.
Daniel understood him. And this dream troubled Daniel to say, oh no, this is coming to the king. But God used Daniel as a vessel to warn the king, you see, to tell him that, king, if you continue down this path, your enemies are going to rejoice and those that hate you are going to rejoice. But turn away, let go, don't do it. And
Okay.
Nebuchadnezzar was also willing, he could see that this is troubling my servant. Now, Nebuchadnezzar, if you read the other chapters, he was a no-nonsense person. If you weren't able to speak in front of him, you'd be killed or he'd tell you, go away. But he's patient with Daniel. He allows Daniel to explain and to speak. And Daniel was used to give a warning to the king. And I found that the same principle applies to us as well. There's always these my boss at the moment is not, I would say, a practicing Christian, but I find him to be someone who the Spirit of the Lord touches at times. He's someone who exercises compassion and mercy when it's necessary. And whenever I'm alone with him, he knows I'm an Adventist. And sometimes he might joke with me, okay, Timbe, I actually needed something from you, but I remembered it was the Sabbath. So I thought, I'll talk to you
Let
on
me.
Monday.
Wow,
And
that's amazing.
there's always times, especially when we're alone, when we're together, when he starts just asking me questions, or he says something. And I'm quick to say, well, Chef, the Bible says this, or the Bible says that. Um, and just the other day, I'll share this as an example. Um, I was in his office and we were discussing something, and then
Okay.
um, he was saying how at times success can be vanity. How when people sing your praises and everyone seems to love you, that can
Can
actually
actually
lead to your down. Yes, that can actually lead to your downfall. And so we started talking about how it's necessary to be humble, to stay humble, not to let pride take over your heart. Then he starts to say, "Yeah, I
Mm.
think I need to. I think I need to study the Bible once again." And then um, we talk, and then I said, for example, Jesus actually says in Luke, "Be careful when all men sing praises to you, because that could be the beginning of your downfall." Then I said, "I'll give you an example. 1 week before Jesus was killed on the cross, that's when there was the triumphal entry, and everyone was singing his praises, Hosanna, Hosanna, the Messiah has come. A week later, that
Mm.
same crowd
So
is
it's
the one
so
that said,
free. Crucified you.
yes. Then I said, look at our own situation in the country. It had been, I think, a week or a few weeks before the coup in 2017, where we had heard that the ruling party ZANU-PF had endorsed President Mugabe to be the presidential candidate for the elections in 2018. But it only took a few days, and after that, the whole country is rejoicing because a coup has happened. So that
Yeah.
really struck me to say, yeah, maybe because of my position, I should humble myself and I should just be a good man, because just because people are
Wow.
singing praise to me, calling me
Does not
boss,
mean they're
chef,
always saying the same song.
you don't know what resides in the heart of men. So you just be humble and do your best and commit yourself to the Lord. And that had an impact. So we always have these, sessions once or twice in a week, or once in a month, or whenever we're just alone and we've been working on something. We always have these sessions, and he asks me a question, or he has a question, and I find the answer from the Bible for him. And I know that it's ministry. He may not convert now, he may not
Nah.
convert once
Yeah.
together,
It's a
but
seed.
I know that the Lord is using me in some way to minister to him.
That's pretty awesome. And thank God we can always use every opportunity that comes our way and not just focus on saying my profession is to just do this legal stuff and stuff like that, but he expects us to represent him well wherever we are, whether there are consequences or there are things that may come with it, but still we're expected to maintain our integrity. So I want to find out if you could redo one thing or two, what could it be? Like in this journey, when you look back, are there things that you think, I could redo this? If you could redo one thing, what could that thing be?
Okay. If I could redo something, you know what? At this point in I don't think I can say I would redo anything. Of course, we have regrets in life, but I think this aspect of my life, I would not say I would redo anything. Perhaps if I could go back to my younger self, I would go back and give myself advice. But to
Okay,
redo
what
something,
advice would that be?
I think it would be to say, stay calm. God has a purpose. God knows the journey that you're traveling now, and God is going to walk with you and use you along the way. So stay calm. Don't be anxious. Don't be worried. And God knows, and God wants to give you your dreams and your plans as long as they align with His will. So it's okay.
This as well. Yeah, sure, sure. Thank you so much. So, do you have any parting words before we call it a day that you'd want to tell the audience or something?
Mm, okay. Yeah, I guess I suppose just a few things I've picked up once again from my short professional life when working as a professional Christian. I would say number one, as far as possible, always try and be ahead of your boss. Um,
Okay.
that's something I try and apply as well. And what do I mean by that? I'm saying we all have deadlines
What
that we have to meet. We all have reports that we have to submit. We all get assignments we have to do. And never let your boss be the one to look for you. Always be ahead of your boss
Okay.
in that you know what's required of you. So don't let the boss start looking for you to say, Timbe, can I have this? Or where are we with this? Try and be the one to always be giving the feedback. Say, okay, we're now here, or we've done that, or submit the report on time. Um, for example, there's exco meetings that happen on Monday at work. Why would you want, like in our situation, exco happens, the executive committee meets on Monday. Why would you submit the report on Monday morning knowing that that meeting is
Morning.
going to be at Monday morning? Rather send it on Friday or send it earlier, because number one, your boss is going to be swamped with pressure. He has to read your report, he has to understand your report. So be ahead of your boss in that. Just purpose to say, okay, why don't I send it 2 days earlier? And that then gives you that good reputation of efficiency, of being a hard worker, of being diligent, and you can then share the gospel much easier. And when you have your own requests, maybe it becomes a Sabbath issue, or something that doesn't align with your principles at work, because you always
Easier.
deliver, easier for you to then
Yeah.
request known. But if you're then the one who's late, the one who's being looked for, the one who, we already know that, if you don't look for him, it won't come. When your challenges and
We,
issues come, share with them. And then I think another one I would say would be, this is a principle I learned. Just because I'm friendly with you, it doesn't mean I'm your friend. I'll repeat that. Just
okay.
because I'm friendly, it doesn't mean
It
I'm your
doesn't mean I'm
friend.
your friend.
Yes, you know, uh, bosses are different. There are some bosses who are relational, and to them, we're a family and we're a unit, and you know, you are my brother, and we are good like that.
Mhm.
There's some bosses
Yeah,
who, you work for me, and that's that. So
that's that. Yeah.
just because, and you need to understand your boss, you need to get into their mind and see where, how your relationship is defined, because there are some bosses who will never shout, they will never complain in front of you, but they watch what you do and they measure
Feel
it,
comfortable.
and they may
Yeah.
even laugh with you, and you may think, I'm good, and it can cause you to then relax. Say, I can send this thing tomorrow, or I can do that assignment the other day, and you start to think, we are so good with this boss, he'll understand my situation, she'll understand my situation. But just because she doesn't shout like a lion, she doesn't complain, she doesn't give you warnings or anything, you may make the
Doesn't mean
mistake
she's
of
okay.
thinking,
Yeah.
yes, and then down the line you may then discover a consequence comes. So just because I'm friendly with you, just because I talk with you in a respectful manner, and I accommodate you, and I give you a wide playing field, and I don't micromanage you, it doesn't mean I'm your friend. I'm your boss. I expect you
True.
to do what you need to do. And you
Ah,
might
true.
find consequences coming down the road. Maybe your contract won't be renewed. And then you go home grumbling, saying, I don't understand why.
Why? I
And
don't get it.
if you're fortunate enough, they'll tell you why. But maybe you'll just get that letter which says, sorry, we're not renewing your contract. A retrenchment may come, you're found on the list. Or something happens and a hearing comes. So just because I'm friendly with you, it doesn't mean I'm your friend.
Doesn't mean I'm your friend.
Uh,
Okay.
So
Thank you.
relationship. But I'm not saying that's how they all are. For
Yeah.
some, we are brothers, we are sisters, we are friends, we can go out and do lunch together, we can go out and do this together, but that's not always the situation. So don't make that mistake. Understand who your superior is and always be ahead of them. Do what needs to be done. I think those would be my parting words.
Oh, thank you so much. Always be ahead of your deadlines. Always be ahead of your boss. And just because of my friends, I'm friendly to you doesn't mean I'm your friend. Thank you so much, all the Timpe, for accepting to be part of your show today. And I'm sure we all learned so much from your personal experience. You know, the reason why we mentioned the story of an unfulfilled dreams, it's not just to make the world to bring out the gloominess in the world, but it's to, you know, when you say your personal experience, it's got its impact than just saying, I had so and so did this, so and so did this, you know. But when you get to hear it from you, it really strengthens us and strengthens an experience. So thank you so much, and I hope we learned a lot from interacting with you. So as we conclude still we're going to conclude still with a quotation, from the book Patriarchs and Prophets. The page is 222, paragraph 3. So I'm hoping it's going to be displayed just now. But it all talks about how our success in this life depends upon integrity and faithful in the little things. So it says there are few who realize the influence of the little things of life upon the development of character. Nothing which we have to do is really small. So at times we may just think, it's just smiling to a client, it's just do this. But at the same time, we may also think that it's just a little compromise, you know, the workspace expects me to do this, but you know your principles are like this, and you think, it's just something little, but you never know when you actually compromise. Those are the moments that we actually let God down. So peradventure, you may think, sinning for God, I mean, they failed to get this, I mean, failed to get whatever, but standing for God, whether we fail to be where we think we're supposed to be, as long as it's the Father who's holding the cup, we know we're going to get where we want to be. The next statement then says, the varied circumstances that we meet day by day, they are designed to test our faithfulness and to quantify us for greater tasks. So whatever that is going to quantify us for the greater task is determined by our experience in our day-to-day experience right now. It's not determined by the great things that are going to be shown on TV or what people are going to say. So by adherence to principle in the transaction of ordinary life, the mind becomes accustomed to hold the claims of duty above those of pleasure and inclination. So I hope we get to understand that as we take each day as it comes, step by step, we are actually building our legacy. And at the end of the day, we are also standing up for Christ. Either we are building for Christ or we are tearing down for Christ. So I hope you learned quite a lot, like I did in this episode of A Story of Unfulfilled Dreams. Till we meet again next week, God bless you. Stay safe. I hope you're well. Thank God. Thank you.
When peace like a river attended my way, when sorrows like sea billows roll, whatever, my Lord, thou hast taught me to say, it is well with my soul. with my soul.